Make sure you download the KDUSAM 1060 app. You can take this show or any of the shows here on the station with you on the go. Opportunity to win prizes over there as well. Your one-stop shop for everything KDUSAM 1060, and also your one-stop shop for everything the lunch break. So not only can you listen to the show live, you can see the video version over there, but all of these smaller video segments that we cut out and put out on our KDUSAM 1060 YouTube page, you can see right there in the app as well. So your one-stop shop for everything lunch break and everything KDUSAM 1060, the KDUSAM 1060 app. So would appreciate if you downloaded that today. Back into the Suns real quick, and we've got the NFL Rewind in about 15 minutes from now. My big picture takeaways, my thoughts in rapid-fire fashion on the forward divisional round contest, and boy, do we have a lot of them. And in hour number 2 of the program, I will tell you why there is one thing that the Cardinals can learn from everything we saw in the divisional round of the playoffs. If you were a Cardinals fan watching the divisional round this weekend, there should have been a common theme that you saw over and over and over again. I'll tell you what that is and why it is important for this offseason for the Arizona Cardinals in hour number 2. But I told you that there was a takeaway from the Suns game that is proof that the Suns are built the wrong way. Well, there was no Bradley Beal on Saturday, and it was Kevin Durant and it was Devin Booker. And those two guys combined to score 71 of the team's 125 points. That's pretty good. Those two guys, superstars, they showed up like superstars would, right? What have I been telling you over and over and over again when it comes to the Phoenix Suns? I have told you that this team is not built the proper way. It is not built the way modern, and what I mean by modern is 2024, 2025 NBA teams are built. They are built like the Miami Heat Big Three or the Golden State Warriors Big Three. They are built in the way of an older era of the NBA. Saturday was proof of that. Because you know what I felt watching that game on Saturday? I didn't watch that game and felt, you know what this team is missing right now? They're missing Bradley Beal. You know what I felt watching that game on Saturday? You know what this team is missing? A couple bench pieces, some nice role players to come off the bench. Did you watch that game and think that the Suns are better suited to spend $50 million on Bradley Beal than they would be to take that $50 million and spread it around to multiple different players that could help their team? Did you watch that game on Saturday? Now, they missed the scoring from Bradley Beal. I just said that in the last segment. They needed somebody else to step up. But how much nicer would it be if you had 2 or 3 guys that you could look to add that scoring? So you're not looking around to where it's got to be Bradley Beal every night. Or if Bradley Beal's not around, you're always looking at Grayson Allen. Or you're always looking at Royce O'Neal. Wouldn't it be nice to have a deeper bench? Wouldn't it be nice to build the way other teams are built? The dynamic duo, 2 really good superstar players that are surrounded with good quality depth role players? Wouldn't that be a nice way to build your basketball team? And I'm watching this game on Saturday, and I'm watching Kevin Durant and Devin Booker do what they do, combined for 71 points. And I'm sitting there going, I don't miss Bradley Beal. I just miss additional scoring. I miss other options for this team. And I just sat there and I thought to myself that $50 million that they're spending on Bradley Beal, that they chose to take on when they traded for Bradley Beal, how much better would we feel about this Suns team if that $50 million was spent on 2 or 3 role players that made their bench stronger, that made their bench deeper? Because guess what? If you bring Bradley Beal back, or when Bradley Beal comes back from this injury, and again, he's questionable for today's game against the Cavs. I have not seen if he's in the lineup or not. I just know questionable is what has been thrown around for Bradley Beal's availability today. But when Bradley Beal comes back and you infuse his $50 million salary and you infuse him off the bench, guess what? You're still missing additional scoring. We've told you, Bradley Beal, it's a roller coaster ride of what you're going to get from him off the bench. Some days it's awesome. Some days it's 25. Some days it's 23. And then other games it's 10. Other games, it's 12. Wouldn't it be better, and wouldn't the money be better allocated if you had 2 or 3 guys who were really awesome off the bench, were 6th man of the year candidates, that knew their role, were good in that role, thrived in that role, and you gave Coach Budenholzer additional options off the bench? Wouldn't that be nice? That's what I felt watching that game. Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, talented enough to lead a team on their own. They don't need a third head to the three-headed monster. They're good. Dynamic duo. They're fine. What they need is bench pieces. And with Bradley Beal's injury history, with Bradley Beal now coming off the bench and him being inconsistent in what he gives you, that's not his fault. You're putting a player in a role that he hasn't played in, 8 or 9 seasons? It just feels like the Suns are trying to make Bradley Beal the auxiliary piece to a dynamic duo, but you're paying him like a member of the Big Three, so it impacts the rest of your roster. It impacts players 4 through 10 or 11 in your rotation. That was my big takeaway from watching this game on Saturday. I'm watching Kevin Durant and Devin Booker do everything, and I'm sitting there going, man, wouldn't it be nice if just right now you just had somebody that you knew every night could come off the bench and give you 15 to 20? And you weren't paying him $50 million a year, so the expectations weren't higher? Because if you had that $50 million, not only could you have one guy who could do that, but you could have 2 guys that could do that. To go along with Grayson Allen and his three-point shooting. To go along with Royce O'Neal and the 3-and-D that he provides. Wouldn't it be nice to have a more well-rounded bench? Wouldn't it be nice to be deeper? That was an option that was in front of you. You didn't have to trade for Bradley Beal. But the moment you did, you locked yourself in. So I watched that game on Saturday, and I watched a team that proved to me they're built wrong. They are trying to square peg round hole this. They are trying to, on the fly, turn their Big Three into a dynamic duo. They're trying to do it. The problem is the cost associated with it. You have committed the dollars. So you're a flawed team with a Big Three. They're now furthering your flaws by moving a member of that Big Three to the bench. It's why it's hard to get on board with this team going anywhere. They are a flawed team. They are not built the way that you are supposed to be built. And now they're trying to kind of fake it till you make it with being this other version of themselves. Hey, we're just going to move Bradley Beal to the bench. That's what everybody wants, right? Got to have more bench scoring, right? Got to give these guys space, a dynamic duo, have a well-rounded bench. So you're kind of doing that, but you're not reaping the rewards of it because you have $50 million allocated to one player coming off your bench. That's no way to build a basketball team. That's no way to build a well-rounded roster. That's what I saw on Saturday. I saw a team that with Bradley Beal sidelined could be something awesome if they had that $50 million to spend on a bench. It's not the fact that the Suns are a second apron team and there are all of those limitations that come with it. It's where they've spent that money. The New York Knicks right now are right up against being a second apron team. Right up against it. Traded for Cat. Traded for Mikal Bridges, have Jalen Brunson, have Josh Hart. It's not a great bench. They have a deeper bench, though. They have guys that they know can come off the bench and provide them scoring. Look around the league. Look at how all of these teams are built. You got to have a good bench. And so the Suns are trying to artificially create that good bench. And credit to them, their record since making this change is good. They have reaped the rewards. We've pointed out to you, be careful. Look at who they've played. Let's see what happens when they come home and the schedule gets a little tougher and you start playing more of those Western Conference teams that you're directly competing with to move up the standings. But credit where credit is due. The move has worked, but it is an artificial change. It's not really what the designed intent would be if you were building a dynamic duo. That's not how it's supposed to play out. And so whether Bradley Beal comes back today against Cleveland, whether it's against Brooklyn, they're going to continue to try to do this. And I give them credit for trying, and I give Bradley Beal credit for giving it the good old college try. He is not causing any problems, and he is trying to make the most of this role. But that's not Bradley Beal's best spot. Bradley Beal is not a role player. You're not paying him to be a role player. So you're trying to make a role player. You're trying to create a deeper bench by artificially moving your player that was in the starting lineup to the bench. It might work for a little bit. I don't think it has long-term stability. But I'm sitting back watching that game, and I'm watching Patrick Mahomes run around on the one screen, and then I got the big TV in front of me, and I'm watching Kevin Durant and Devin Booker in the second half, and watching Book in the first half, and watching Durant just make tough shot after tough shot in the second half, and I'm thinking to myself, man, I don't miss Bradley Beal at all. I miss the idea of a good bench. I miss the idea of players coming off the bench and being able to provide some additional scoring. I miss that, and whether it's Bradley Beal or somebody else, that I miss. But I don't think I specifically missed Bradley Beal on Saturday. I watched Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, and I thought to myself, man, you support those guys with the right pieces? Those two are good enough to win a championship. And the point I'm making to you all is they made the wrong decision. They picked the wrong piece. because you had two paths. After you traded for Kevin Durant, you had two paths to take. Build an awesome bench and build depth, or get a third superstar. Everybody else nowadays is going down the path of building a well-rounded bench, or at least having more options. The Suns chose the path from the past. They chose to be like the Miami Heat. They chose to be like the Golden State Warriors. And with the new restraints on these teams from a financial perspective, if you make that decision and you get it wrong, meaning you pick the wrong player, it doesn't work, it doesn't gel, you're stuck. You've got nowhere else to go. There isn't any wiggle room. It's why, and no offense to him, he's awesome, and we're going to talk about it here, how awesome he was, but that's why Nick Richards is the best you can do in the trade market. Because you got Yusuf Nurkic's bad contract. Again, you traded for that because you needed to get out of the DeAndre Ayton business. That money stopping you from building out a better bench. Bradley Beal's money stopping you from building out a better bench. Combine those two player salaries and think about how much better the Suns could be if that money was spread around over 2 or 3 players that could give this team more value. Think about how differently we would feel. Look at Oklahoma City. Look at Cleveland. They're not built with 3 superstars. They are well-rounded, deep teams. Now, one could make the argument both of those teams are missing that second superstar. But Cleveland, Donovan Mitchell, they feel really good about the way that they're built. They feel ecstatic about the way that they're built, and you'll see it today when the Suns take on the Cavs. And so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe somebody will tell me 480-864-1060 why I'm foolish, why I'm stupid, why it's a moronic take. I'm sure somebody disagrees with me out there. But I think there's more of you out there that agree with what I'm saying. That you watched that game, and maybe you didn't notice it, but now that I'm telling it to you, you're like, oh, yeah, I didn't miss Bradley Beal on Saturday. I missed the idea of somebody being able to provide that extra scoring. And how much better off would the Suns be if they were able to take that money and get 2 or 3 players? So when Grayson Allen has a bad night and he scores 7 after scoring 21 in his previous contest, it's okay because you have a well-rounded bench where you've got 4 or 5 guys on any given night that could step up. Where right now, you're dealing from, it's like 2 or 3 guys. Imagine increasing your odds that somebody goes off. Imagine having 4 or 5 guys that you can look at and go, well, that guy could go for 20 tonight, or that guy could go for 20 tonight. The Suns don't have that. Budenholzer looks at his bench, and it's like 2 or 3 guys, and it's like, it's got to be one of you tonight. Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to do it. That's where the Suns are at right now.